Okay, in this video we're going to get a little bit more interesting in what we can do with the room. We're going to have him restrain. We're going to restrain Sammy to certain areas of the room so that he can't walk all over the walls like he was doing in the last video. And also I'm going to show a little bit about what's called Walkbehinds, and then we're going to get into one thing where he can look at the books on the shelf and he can comment on them. But I'll explain all that as we go. The first thing that we want to do is constrain Sammy to walking just to certain areas of the room. For example, we don't want him to walk on the walls. We don't want him to be able to walk on this table. Right now, we don't want him to be able to walk up the stairs just because there's really nothing up there, and so we'll just kind of constrain him to the landing just before the stairs. He can walk in the closet since there's no door there, so we'll be able to let him walk in the closet a little bit, and then anywhere on this main floor is okay. Before I do that, though, I'm going to change one thing on the character. In fact, I already changed it before the video. This was set to 3 earlier. And this is the movement speed of the character. I'm setting that to 6, just doubling the speed that he walks at because he was walking far too slow. So I just doubled that so that he walks a lot faster now. So really, what we want to do is we want to show the walkable areas. Now, the walkable areas are just regions on the screen that the character is able to walk on. This little drop down here, it says nothing. It says show this room's nothing, so it's not showing anything. But if I click on the drop down, we can see lots of different things. We can see the edges, the objects, the hotspots, the walkable areas, the walk-behinds, and the regions. I'm going to select walkable areas, and then it colors the whole screen blue. Basically, that means everything that's blue is somewhere that Sammy can walk. So right now, Sammy can walk anywhere on the screen. Well, we obviously want to change that. And you can do that from right in the editor. Now, there's 2 ways you can do this. You can either go into another program, a paint program. One of the things you could do is go into a paint program, load up your, let me change this back to none, load up your background image here, and then create a layer on top of that on your paint program, and then start drawing on the layer. So you could start drawing your walkable areas and then just fill them in with a certain color. That's probably the best way to do it. As opposed to doing it directly from AGS editor, but I'm going to go ahead and do it from AGS editor. Oh, and by the way, a great program to use for that kind of thing is paint.net. It's a freeware program. It's for Windows, and it works really, really well. It allows you to do layering and drawing, things like that, and it's really, really, really good for this kind of thing. Everything that was done in Sammy's Quest was done with just regular Microsoft Paint, which is the paint program that comes with Windows. But paint.net is a great alternative to that, and it's free, which is just the right price. So going back to walkable areas, what we really want to do is clear away everywhere that we don't want Sammy to walk. So basically, this upper half of the screen, we don't want Sammy to be able to walk. AGS gives you some basic primitive paint tools here, which is what I'll use. I'm going to click on the line tool, and I'm going to right drag, because right drag will erase the color. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to right drag things away. So I don't want him to be able to walk sort of around this table, so I'm just going to draw a line and have my line define where Sammy can and cannot walk. So you'll see what I'm talking about when I get done. So I'm just going to kind of draw a line here. He can walk into the closet, so I'll go into there. Again, this will all become clear in just a second once I get through with this, what I'm doing. Okay, and now you have the fill tool. Now I'm going to right fill all the area above that. So that just cleared out everything up into where bounding the area that I drew around. So now everything in blue is the area that Sammy can walk. So he can walk all over here. He can't walk into the table, can't walk up the stairs, and he can walk into the closet a little bit. So let's see how that works. I'm going to click run. He says hello world like we told him to, and now Sammy can walk. If I click anywhere in the room, he can walk anywhere in the room, but he can't walk over here. He can't walk on the table. Notice I'm clicking on the wall. He's not going up into the wall anymore. He can't go up the stairs because we bound him so that he couldn't go up there. He can go into the closet, but watch what happens when he goes into the closet here. Okay, he goes into the closet, but it's not exactly what we wanted. He's in the closet, but he's on the wall. So actually what we want to do is we really want this wall here to be drawn on top of Sammy, so that if I'm halfway in and halfway out of the closet like this, I really want the back of his head here that would be covered by the wall. I really want that to be covered by the wall. Well, how do we do that? Well, that's what's called a walk behind area. very similar to a walkable area, but this is a walk behind area. So if I click on walk behinds here, by default there are none. But I really want this area right here, this wall, to be a walk behind. In other words, let the character be able to walk behind that area. You're going to do it this. You're going to define it the same way. I'm going to zoom up a little bit here so that I can get a little bit finer detail. And I'm going to draw a little box around this wall. And then I'm just going to fill it in. So that fills in this area. So in other words, Sammy can walk behind this rectangle. There's really no reason to walk behind anything else. I mean, I could say that he can walk behind this table too, but he can't get to there in the first place, so there's really no reason to walk behind it. So really, this is the area that we want him to walk behind. Now what we have to do is we have to be able to define the baseline of this walk behind. And what the baseline is that's basically an area that if the character is above the baseline, he will be drawn behind the walk behind area. By default, the baseline is this dotted blue line up here at the top, so I'm just going to drag that down. Typically you want to drag that down to the base of your walk behind region. So this is my walk behind region and this is my walk behind line. And again, what this is saying is when Sammy is above this line, this wall will be drawn on top of Sammy. But if Sammy is below this line, let's say that Sammy is right here, for example, his feet are here below the line, well then we don't want the wall to be drawn on top of Sammy. We want Sammy to be drawn on top of the wall. So, and that will happen as long as you have your baseline set correctly. So in other words, again, just to recap, above this line, if Sammy is above this line over here, the wall will be drawn on top of Sammy. If Sammy is below the line, then Sammy will be drawn on top of the wall. So let's just run that and see how that works. Okay, so we have Sammy, he says hello world, and then let's walk over here. Let's make sure that this works. If he's below the line, again, he's below the line right now, Sammy is drawn on top of the wall. But if I go into the closet, now all of a sudden the wall is drawn on top of Sammy. So that's exactly the effect that we want. Now it looks like Sammy's really entering the closet. And it looks like it sort of gives a 3D component to the room, even though the room is just a 2D picture. So that's a really, really cool feature in AGS. Another thing I want to say about walk behinds, in walkable areas as well, you can have several of them. You can have up to 16, from 0 to 15 walk behind areas. And you might think, well, why would I want more than one? Well, for one thing, you may want to have more than one. I might have had a closet over here that had a different baseline and everything like that. I may have wanted to turn, to have a different walk behind area. Well, you can do that. You can have up to 16 of them. Also, what you can do, if you watch the intro, you can turn these things on and off. If you watch the walkthrough, you remember that you can actually open this trap door, and when you open the trap door, you see the trap door wall. The trap door actually kind of leans over to the side, and it sort of appears over here, sort of leaning over. Well, that becomes a new walk behind area, because if you think about it, when the door is open and it's sort of leaning up, when Sammy walks behind the door, we want the door to be drawn on top of Sammy, so that becomes a walk behind area. So you can actually draw the area that the door will actually enter, and then you can turn that off in script. You can turn it off and turn it on. So when by default it would be off, but when Sammy opens the door, we would turn that area on, and so then that would become a walk behind area. So that's that's one of the ways that you could use multiple walk behind areas. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set a region on this books over here, and we're going to have Sammy say something whenever these books whenever the player looks at these books. We're going to have him say something about the books. We'll actually do that in the next video. Looks like we're running out of time on this video, so we'll do that in the next video. So see you then.